Hi, it's Dr. Myers here. And this lecture is something I change each semester and is really the practical part of the course. And I want to alert you to some things that will help you get through the course a little bit easier. So you have my email there and you can take it from that. But let's comment on the title first. Welcome to Economic Analysis. And economic analysis is not about memorization. I really need to get you to think about that because that's our first thing that we do when we go into something new is we try to memorize stuff. And I'm not saying memorization is always bad, but that's not how you solve problems. You solve problems by learning timeless principles and tools to which you can apply with critical thinking skills to things that are going on. And sometimes these problems are very highly mathematical, and sometimes they're not. But even then, they're structured very, very logical. And I'm hoping you get to see and experience um, exactly what I mean by that. So let's go into this a little bit. This course is 100% online. It's been that way since uh, 2023. That would be 23 years ago. I didn't update that line. And it was designed from the beginning to be online. It was not forced by the pandemic or any other online trends that we've all experienced recently and so forth. So this was actually built with the online learner in mind. Now, it is 100% asynchronous, meaning there's no meetings required, and you can work at your own pace. You will be contacting me by requirement twice a week, um, and if your scores are low, and we'll get into that in a bit, then you're there may be an email intervention coming your way, things that you have to do before I will allow you to continue in the course. And the problem with interventions is it takes away from a very busy schedule this summer, or even in the regular semesters, same thing. It takes away from what you can do. Now, the value of the interventions, I- if you're not getting it, if you're not understanding it, we need to stop and make sure you do because this is a mastery level course. And by mastery, what I mean is you have to master the concepts before you move on. It would be like learning your math for the very first time, and you can't add. Why would we go to subtraction? If you can't subtract, why would we go to multiplication? This course builds upon itself. Okay, so that's the first thing out of the gate. Now, nearly all contact with me is via email, including what I call these required learning assessments, which you must use Microsoft Word desktop version in order to complete because they're Microsoft forms. And if you try to use anything else, Google, Apple products, what have you, and they won't work on Google Chromebook. I'll tell you that right up front. You have to do this, or the forms don't work. They only work in the native environment MS Word. The good news is the university gives you MS Word free, including the desktop version, and there's instructions in Module 1 on exactly how to access and download and install that product. When you email me, I'm very particular about this. I I want to see in the subject heading E244, that's our course, Economics 244, www summer 2026. What that does is it allows me to isolate your emails from all the other email that I get from everything else that I do in my life. And I get a ton, and I don't want to miss your emails. So I'm going to be pretty persnickety about this. You're going to have to actually use that. Now, when you do a learning assessment, there is a required subject, of which those are the first four things you will type, and then it will tell you more. And it's very important that you use that title as well. Again, I use a ton of email filters because I get a ton of email from my online courses, and this sorts them all. I get to see them in an orderly way, and I get to respond. If you do not use this subject, it's not the end of the world, but it may mean that I won't see your email. I mean, I just might not see it at all. Now, if we need, we'll use MS Teams by arrangement. I don't have any formal office hours or anything like that. You can't sort of drop in on a regular basis. I'm not at my office. We're all in the cloud here, if you will. And but if we need to talk face to face, we can do that, and we'll do it through a Teams link that I will send you. Uh, I am listed at the university. I do have an office. I do have an office phone. I'm not there. I don't get that phone. I haven't listened to any voicemail that may be on that phone for quite a few years because I don't use it. I have a cell phone, and like all of us, that's kind of how we exist. Okay, so there's going to be twice weekly formally required contact points. I'll get into that. These are mostly these 12 learning assessments, which are actually Microsoft Forms, but you will upload them to your email as an attachment and then send them to me, and then I'll be able to go through them and use them and grade them and what have you. But they're actually delivered by email, so it is an email contact from you. This would be the normal thing. We may not have or share a direct email contact at all, although I do send out a fair amount of announcements and updates and what have you during the course. Three of the things we do this term are writing assignments, and I'll get into that in a minute. And evaluations are not optional. Please understand, you're going to be given, at the end of the course, you're going to be given 10 free points if you've completed all the evaluations that come your way. If you don't complete them all, you don't get the 10 points. It's that simple. So don't give up free points. All right. Make sure you do those at the end. Now, here's our home page. When you log in, you're going to see this. And what we see are a number of things here. And I believe you can see my cursor as it's being recorded. If not, in the top blue bar, you see the word syllabus. Do not touch that. That happens to be a new university requirement. All syllabuses have to be done in their tool. And I do not have my syllabus in that tool. It's not required for me until the fall. I've never even opened it. So if you go there, it's going to tell you something bad, whatever. But if you look down at a little bit lower, right here in this red box, you're going to see the word syllabus. You can click there and get your syllabus. At the time I'm recording this, that button doesn't work. But the syllabus is also inside the first module content. I'll show you that in a second. And it works there quite fine. I also emailed it out to all of you that were registered, I think a day or two ago. Now, that's kind of where we're starting. And each of these blue buttons in the middle are things that you can come back time and time again. The printable calendar, and I want to talk about that in a second. The learning objectives for each quiz. How hard is each quiz? And a link of economic resources. These are all available to you at this button on your homepage. You'll see them every single time you log in. And if you need to get to them, you can get to them that way. You will see them in other places, like in Module 1 and so forth. So there's some duplication here, but it's for your convenience. It's all the same file. So I'm not giving you one version of a syllabus in one place and one, a different one in another. And if I do, let me know, because that's a mistake. It should be the same thing in every single place. So let's go into the homepage itself and take a look at it and see what is going on here. So I'm actually in the homepage, and we can go, and it says up here, this is Stephen Myers. I'm looking at this as a student. So it's supposed to show me what it looks like to you. I don't know if I believe that 100%, but nevertheless, that's pretty much it. One of the things that you can see right now on this, I'll scroll up a little bit, show you it is a live page. So here, over here on the calendar side, you see all of the assignments and when they are due. Notice, if you're listening to this on the first day of class, there's an assignment due tomorrow. Module 1 is due tomorrow. and that it's due by 11:59. Uh, on the 12th, which I think is Friday, you're going to find an assignment due at 11:30, and that's going to be consistent. Assignments are always on Tuesdays and Fridays, with just a couple of exceptions here and there, which you will see on the printable calendar. If we go into the content, I'll show you the printable calendar here in a second. So we go down, you can see that all of these things, course calendar, what's being asked in each quiz, that's learning objectives, how difficult are the quizzes, and actually here's that table. And it just says in Module 1, there are 6 complex questions and no analytic questions, so the difficulty is pretty low. On the other hand, by the time we get to Module 4, you'll see there's 7 analytic questions, and that rates a difficulty of number 1. That's the hardest module that we do. Module 3 is the second. Well, those are the supply and demand modules. That's what you think of as economics, and that's where those analytic questions are coming in. But this kind of gives you an idea of what to expect as you go through, but your mileage may vary as you get through. As we scroll down, there's some resources here I want to show you. One of the resources is the Fred Graphical Data Services. You get this free. You're going to be required to use Fred to create graphs in the modules 11 through 14. Whole lot more information on that later. Very easy to use, but it allows you to get to real data series. In fact, if you look down here, the number is 844,000 variables that you can get to in Fred. So that's amazing. And so it means that we're going to use evidence to back up all the theory and so forth that we have. So that's really great here. All these links here are useful for you as resources. Things like the Concise Encyclopedia of Economics, Marginal Revolution University Video Library, where a lot of videos come from, and a couple of books that are really worth buying and so forth. I've given you a ton of resources in this widget that's always going to be on the front page, but you can also find that information over here at Economic Resources. The content, which is where we want you to start everything in this course, is here. So when I look at the content, and again, I'm looking here, if I don't have that open, let me see if this will work. So if I say open content, okay, and it's still showing me looking at it as a student, so I hope this is what you see, but it should be very similar to this. So now you have some information here. I believe this link changes. It may be the last thing that you looked at, which was our course syllabus link, and you can just pick up where you left off. But you're going to be seeing all the modules. Now, you cannot see these. They're revealed. In other words, as you complete a module, according to my requirements for completion, the next module will reveal itself. So we're going to go from Module 1 to 2A to 2B to 3 to 4. When we look in the course introduction, you're looking at lecture part 2, this link right here, and there's more information as you come on down. And I'll come back to this here in a few minutes. But let's go back to the prepared presentation. And you're back looking at the home page. I gave you a quick tour of it. I hope that actually helps. If not, I know you can watch this at 2 times speed or whatever works for you. But as we continue this, one of the things I want to tell you is the printable calendar versus the course calendar. So over here, let's call this the course calendar. It says that there is a learning assessment for Module 1 due on June 9th. That's true. If there is ever a conflict between what the course says and the printed calendar rules, it is correct. So if there's ever a conflict, let me know about it and I'll straighten it out immediately. But the printed calendar rules. So what does the printed calendar look like? It looks like this. And one of the things that you see here is you're probably listening this on June 8th or maybe early since I opened the course. And you see on June 9th, Module 1 is due. Well, what Module 1 it consists of is you need to look at a bunch of things within Module 1. In fact, you have to look at all of them, whether you've looked at them before or not, just because there's a limitation that won't let you do the learning assessment until you've opened all the files. It's like I can lead you to the files. I can't make you read them all, but I want you to know they're there, and I want you to experience them, and I do hope you read them. That's why they're there. Now, Module 1 only has a learning assessment, and it's due on Tuesday night. But Module 2B, next Tuesday, that'll be your fourth requirement. See, the greens are all the requirements here. So Module 1 is due on Tuesday. Module 2A, essay, writing assignment right out of the box, is due on Friday the 12th. There is a pre-qualifying graph quiz due on no later than Sunday. And if you don't pass that, Module 2B will not open. I can't allow you to go into a mathematically intense module if you can't conquer basic graphs. Some people have a lot of trouble with this, but you will get to take that quiz over and over. The idea is that if you're having trouble, you can figure it out and go back and take the quiz again. But you have to score a 90% or you can't move on. Well, this tells us that Module 2B is due on the 16th, and you'll find there are two things required. One is a quiz. That's our first quiz-based, textbook-based module. And there'll be a quiz over those two chapters. It's chapter 1 and 2. Big surprise. Now, when you take that quiz, you're going to be able to score, but you're going to get it 3 times. And you have to take it all 3 times unless you score a perfect 10. That's true for the whole course, all right? You must take it 3 times. So that's the due date. Due dates are due every Tuesday and Friday for the next 8 weeks. It's very intense. That's just the way it is to get through the course. Now, there is a date over here. It says Module B closes on the 20th. That is not your due date. And that time between 16 and 20 is not your time. That time between the 16th and 20 is my time. The only thing that is that module is still open between the 16th and 20. And I may ask you to take the quiz again. All right. I'll just say you do really miserably. All right. I don't want you to start out miserably and end up failing the class because you couldn't grasp the first few modules. I may have you go back and do it again. That's our window. That's how fast we're going to have to operate. But that time between 16th and 20 is mine. Don't be late. I do penalize, so don't be late. Your due date, the word due is what you should look at, not closure. My policy is not to allow students to miss due dates, not to accept or comment on late work. That's really critical. You send me something late, I'm not going to respond. I respond to every one of your emails, except that. You're late to me, I don't have to respond. Now, I also do not grant extensions. So you can't come to me and say, hey, I've had a hard time at work, I need to delay. That's not going to work here. Now, you go in the hospital, there's an accident, I can work around real events, but your lack of time management is not a real thing, okay? Now, how much time is this going to take? Because that's the next question, right? So last summer, the chart you see here, I had, 11, 15 students, whatever that is. And most of them were in the 6 to 8 hours per week. A few were more and some were less. I don't know how that correlates to grades. Did all the low grade people spend only 2 to 4 hours a week? I don't know, but you ought to expect this. And if you think about this in a face-to-face course, I'm not asking any more than face-to-face. This course is not easier than face-to-face in terms of time. If you were taking face-to-face in the regular fall semester, you'd be spending 3 hours of class a week. Okay, 50 minutes, but you get my drift. And then you might have up to 2 hours of transit time per the week. That includes walking and driving and parking from wherever you are. And then you really ought to be putting in a minimum of 2 or 3 hours. And what does this add up to? It's 7 to 8 hours a week. I'm asking for the same amount of time, even though I'm asking it to all be study as opposed to walking, parking, driving, and so forth. I want that time. Okay, so make a plan to give at least that much time. And my recommendation is at the beginning, assume this is going to take you 20 hours a week. It won't, but assume it. Give it the time. Don't procrastinate. Don't fall behind, because it'd be very difficult to catch up. You get 2 free textbooks you need to download. And the first one is by Hazlitt, and we're using it. And actually, I call it textbook number 2 because we're only using it week 1. So as soon as you finish module 1, you're going to read this book. And not the whole book, some of the chapters. Chapters are short, but this is an incredibly helpful and important text for you. And we're going to talk about it. It was written in 1946, and it is as relevant today as it was then. The lack of relevance is the examples are a little different, but the concepts spot on, and it will provide the foundation for our entire process through this year. Now, your textbook number 1, is also free, and it's available through OpenStax. If you have to have a printed copy, you can download it and print it, or you can actually order it. I don't know how long that takes, but by downloading it, having a decent PDF reader that can annotate, you can work your way through it. It really works very, very nicely. I went to school with David Shapiro, who's absolutely awesome person. I know Steve Greenlaw as well. It is a great text, and the course was built on a text that's a very popular text. Some other classes may actually be using that text. It is currently $350. Yours is free. You're welcome. Now, when you go to the Economic in One Lesson, this is for your first assignment, you notice that there's some links here that are free. You can download the PDF. You can also listen to the audio. Careful, the audio only includes, I think, the first 2 chapters. You can't get it all. And you're going to have to read 4 chapters. Details are in the assignment. You'll see what it is. By the way, one of the assignments only like 3 pages, or one of the chapters. So don't worry about that requirement. But if you were on this page, and this is a copy of the page, if you just scroll down, the entire copy is on your screen. You don't even have to download it. It's right there, and you can access it very easily. Now, your book, OpenStax book, the Principles of Economics, our textbook for the course, again, it says you can view it online. You can download a PDF. Again, this works really, really well. And notice there's some student resources, may or may not help you. I do not require those, but if they help you, all the more power to you. Use them. I am enhancing the course for you using Grok AI. No other AI is approved in this course. The last line says read the AI class policy and do not violate it. I will cause bad things to happen to your student record if you violate that policy. On the other hand, we're in an AI world. I use it a ton. Grok is the application I am allowing. Don't question me on that. If you're going to use ChatGPT or whatever all the time, or Claude or all these other ones, you have your own favorite, fine, but not in this class. And part of it is that Grok comes out ahead of all the AIs on economic principles. It is the best AI economist out there coming and going. It is the highest rated financial app from an understanding point of view. It is also, unlike many AIs, current. If something's happened in the world today, Grok knows about it. And other AIs will go, well, that's never happened because they're not updated. They're rolled out on a different basis. So there's a whole lot of reasons. Just don't question me. If you're going to use AI in the class, use Grok. Here are your steps on how to setting it up. You must have an account and sign in. It is free. So again, I don't put any dollar values on you at all or requirements, but you have to do a couple things. One is you have to enable memory because you want Grok to remember you. You don't want to have to start every conversation like, remember when and Grok says, no. Go to settings, data controls, and turn the memory on, okay? That only works if you're logged in, right? Now, and then in the course itself, I have a prompt. And this prompt is to be fed to Grok first time only. You can copy it out of the content. You don't have to get it off the slide. You probably can't. So go to the content. You'll see the prompt for Grok AI. Copy, paste it, throw it in Grok after you've done the memory steps and you've logged in and so forth and so on. And it will remember you. It will know what course you're using. It will know what textbooks you're using. And you can actually say, what does my text say about tariffs? We're not going to cover tariffs, but what does my course, my textbook say about tariffs? It will tell you, and it won't fill up your work with everything it knows about tariffs. It won't be talking to you like a PhD economist. This prompt also says, talk to me like I'm beginning an economic analysis course, and I'm trying to understand, and I'm building this up. And one of the lines says, from now on, please respond in this tutoring style unless I deliberately ask you to change it. And I would recommend you don't change it. Grok's your tutor. First module, learning assessments due on June 9th by 11:59. It's the last content entry in Module 1, and it's only visible if you've opened all the preceding items. But let's talk about the economic writing process here. There's three things in this course in the summer. First is an essay due on June 12th. I'm not going to go into that anymore because you'll figure that out when you look at the assignment. Module 7A takes an entire week. There's something due every single day. But you'll find out that, one, you don't have to study for it. You do have to review some videos and so forth. But you're going to take a quiz, 3 of them, that will display your ignorance. And I do this deliberately. And you're going to be shocked at how much you don't know, or how much you think you know, or how much you know that you were sure about that's wrong. And then we're going to figure out, why were you wrong? And then you're going to write 3 essays on each of the 3 parts. Now, on the calendar, it says that's due every single day. Nonsense. You can do them all in one day if you've got, the ability, or you can do them in 2 days. Yes, one of them's due on July 4th. If you want your July 4th free, just do them more quickly than that. I think it's a very reasonable expectation that you can do the first and second quiz of each part easily within a day, a few hours, right? But just make sure that that week you understand that that's going to be writing. Module 11-4, you're going to be using real data, that FRED program. You're going to complete 4 created graph analysis. I'm going to dictate what you should be doing. Module 11, for example, you're going to replicate a graph exactly. You're not going to put any thought into it or anything. You're just going to get the mechanics down. You're going to do that. And for that, you're going to get 5 points. But if you do it, and then the next ones are going to ask you to put a little bit more thought into each one of them. But by doing this, you're going to really experience FRED as a tool. And some of my students have told me that the single best thing coming out of this class is that they have FRED. They have access to FRED forever. And, one of your friends says, man, unemployment's higher now than it's ever been before, you can go to Fred and you can go, look, nah, that's not true. Look where we are. Most of this course is going to be 12 quiz-based modules. It's in 3 categories. There's foundational modules. That's the first, I think it's 6 chapters in the class in the book, but that just gets us started. That's supply and demand, and then we go into 4 modules which are microeconomics, and you can read what that is. And then at the last part of the course, we're looking at macroeconomics, and you're getting all this in one term. The completion requirement is that 2 things have occurred. This is for our quiz-based modules. First, a quiz has been taken 3 times, or a score of 10 out of 10 has been achieved on the first or second attempt. They're always due, well, it should say Tuesdays and Fridays. That's set up for this slide's set up for my fall class. But Tuesdays and Fridays, 11:30. And then a learning assessment must be submitted in the next half hour. 11:59, right? And the learning assessment is this. You're going to see this form, and there's always a learning assessment unless it's a writing assignment. And I didn't feel like editing that, but it's actual summer 2026. This is an old screen I grabbed, but that's what it looks like. You're going to download that file. The instructions are right there. Then you fill it out using MS Word. You save the file to your computer, not to the cloud. The default is cloud. You're going to make mistakes. It's going to slow you down. I will not accept it that way. It must be saved to your computer, uploaded and attached to your email. For some of you, this is something you've never done, but you'll attach it to your email, and then you'll email it to me as a Word attachment, not as an Apple Pages, not as a PDF file, not as a Google Word doc. None of those will be acceptable, and they will just simply slow you down. It has to be an MS Word file uploaded as an attachment with that required subject. And there you can sort of look at the bottom. Everything else is just fill out the form, answer the questions. And this is where you have an opportunity to do 2 things. You're going to reflect on how you've done in the module. You're going to report your scores. So when you take those 3 attempts and you get a 6 and an 8 and then a 10, you're going to tell me that, and you're going to tell me the questions that you missed. The questions are tied to learning objectives. When you miss a question, it might be on predict prices based upon movement of supply and demand, or that might be the learning objective, and you missed that. Maybe you missed that all 3 times. Well, that's a real problem, and you've got to conquer that before you move on, or not being able to solve that problem will cause you headaches in the very next module. So that's what we're going to do. You're going to report that. You're going to have an opportunity to ask me questions about specific questions that you have, and you're going to reflect on what it is that you learned and write me a short paragraph. So these are writing assignments, and it's our way that you and I take an impersonal online course, which could be just what they used to call the old correspondence course. You just take the quizzes, fill out the forms, you get whatever grade you get. That's not the process. I'm only interested in one thing, you learning to think. And this is your demonstration of that. I will respond to these and let you know what I think about your thinking, and we'll take it from there. There are release conditions in every module you do not get to see. It doesn't say, hey, there's 20 links here. You have to open all 20 or you can't see the learning assessment or maybe the graph quiz, or the regular quiz. But they're there. So if there's not a learning assessment at the end of a quiz-based module, you haven't opened everything up yet. If there's not a quiz at the end of a set of modules, you haven't opened up everything. And until you open up the most important elements, that quiz isn't going to show up. So your first step to that is download, and that's where the button is up in the top. You're going to look at this online in Brightspace in your browser, whatever you're using, and you're going to hit download and fill it out in Word, save it to your computer, attach it to an email, and send it to me. Again, don't send it as anything except a Word attachment. So if your computer is defaulting to PDF, or you're trying to do this in Google Documents, that's going to be a big red flag, and it's going to stop everything and delay you. So why am I so picky? Form follows function. I get a minimum. Now this is a fall estimate. This course is much smaller, but in the fall I get a minimum of 800 emails in each class, and I respond to all of them. All right. That's why I'm picky. You meet me, I'll respond to you. You don't meet me that way, I'm not responding, not answering your questions, I'm not helping, and so forth. And don't look at that as too much of a threat. We'll work that out as long as you're working with me to make sure that you can get this. And this form following function is going to be true in every one of those. I think it's 12, might be 13 quiz-based modules. Course is available to you 24/7, but there are pressure points. The first is a busy and a fast and busy start. You might have thought, well, I can wait a week to get into this, or like so many of our classes, nothing happens until the first of 3 exams. That's not the case. You're going to have upwards of 45 exams, not counting the midterm. That is, if you have 15 graded modules. Actually, it's not that many, but let's say 40. If you don't take, if you don't score a 10 on the first one of those modules, you have to take it 2 more times. So that's up to somewhere around 40 different quizzes that you're going to be taking. The other pressure in this, it's a long, steady routine. There are no breaks. We're going to hit that calendar and we're going to go through. You need to do the time management to figure that out. Otherwise, it's going to be a pressure point, and halfway through the course, you're going to get tired or unable to finish and so forth. Anticipate that. Do everything you can. And then the other pressure point in the summer class is midterm week, because it becomes more intense. Remember, we're doing twice as much in a week in the summer as we do in the fall. There is a video about procrastination. It's optional. You can watch it or not. It's one of the next things in the lecture. So that's it. This went a little bit longer than I thought. I see it's about 40 minutes. I might edit it down a little bit, but I wish you all the luck in the world, and that you do very well in economic analysis. And I welcome you to the course. And I hope, I really do, this course changes how you think. Not what you think, how you think. Have a great day.